sponsored by Model Makers Workshop. Need parts for your next model project? Model Makers Workshop has you covered with the best aftermarket accessories around. And by Gaahleri, your one-stop shopping for all your air. Hello, this is Ken, and thank you for tuning in to the Model Building and Retirement channel. So this is episode 3 of my multi-series build of my AMT 1960 Ford Starliner. And in this episode, we're going to add a third color, a stripe, to the body, in between the black and the lighter green. And we're going to do all the bare metal foil work, and then we're going to do our clear coat, buff, and polish. So that's all in this episode. Also, I started a new live stream every Friday night at 7 p.m. So if you haven't seen it, tune in on a Friday night and check us out. Also, if you've missed any episodes, I'll have links in the description, but there's also the live link on my homepage. Hit live and you'll see my live episodes. I'm on my 4th episode right now, or heading to my 5th. Very popular. We have a special guest every week and a little bit of a special topic for each one of the guests. And it's a lot of fun. Join us. It's about an hour to an hour and a half long. The people in the comment section seem to be having a good time too. So tune in and see that. So let's get into this segment. Okay, so the black paint has cured for about 24 hours. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to paint this trim like a dark green. And the way I'm going to do that, because it's not very defined. The trim is not defined. The mold is old. There's not really a good crisp line where that stainless trim would be. So what I did is I took a piece of vinyl fine line and I'm running it right where I want my paint to be. Right up to the edge, okay? So now what I'm going to do is take some more fine line and line it up right outside of that line to make sure I have my spacing between the edge and inward exact. And then once that's in place, I'll peel this off. So let me get the other one installed and I'll show you. Okay, so now I've installed another piece of fine line tape just to the outside of that first fine line tape, because that first fine line tape is just to give me spacing exactly where I want it. So now what I'll do is I'll pull up the original masking. And that leaves behind my new fine line, which is spaced perfectly along the edge. Now you can try to eyeball that, but chances are you'll get wavy, so that's why I did that. Okay, so I'm going to do that on the other side as well, and also on the bottom edge of this. Okay, so now I have a piece of fine line on the bottom edge of that trim where I want my paint to be, my dark green. And that is right up to the edge. And now what I'm going to do is take another piece of my blue 1/8 inch fine line, marry it right up to that edge, and then I'll peel this away and I'll have my masked edge there. So I'll be right back. Okay, now I put my other fine line below that. Burnish that in with my finger really good. And now I'm going to pull that first piece back out of there where my paint is supposed to go. And once again, that gives you the spacing now. So I have my spacing for my dark green because the trim was so poorly defined, but it's nice and straight now. So now what I need to do is mask up to the edges on both sides. So I'm going to continue doing that on the other side, and then I will apply my full masking and we'll be back. Okay, so next up is going to be a little tip here for masking some very tough edges here. You know, this vinyl tape is great for the majority of the straight lines and stuff, but it doesn't contour extremely tight. So what I'm doing here is I've installed some bare metal foil as if I was going to chrome that strip in the front here. Burnish that down really good, and I'm going to cut it right along the trim line like you normally would. But instead of removing the outside scrap and leaving it where the chrome would normally be, I'm going to remove it where it would normally be and leave it where it would have been scrapped. And that's going to mask off that line for painting. So let me get a blade on there. I'm going to have to do that on screen, but I use a number 11 scalpel blade, and I'm going to be cutting like you normally would, right along that edge. But I'm going to do that off screen so I can see what I'm doing, and then I'll come back and show you. Okay, and I also applied the bare metal foil to the other edge of that too. And just in case that's not coming through real good, I'll have a photo superimposed onto this video here. But that's going to give me a nice crisp edge, provided it don't peel up the paint below. So the fine line does good out here, but on these tight edges, bare metal foil is going to be my masking. So I will paint this and then later remove my bare metal foil. Okay, so I now have both sides masked off where I want to paint my darker green trim here. And I did the same thing on the front here where it's very tedious, as I use bare metal foil and just did the opposite of what you'd normally do. Cut it away and then removed it where the chrome would normally be, leaving it masking on either side because I'm painting. But I also have a very valuable tip, and this comes from my friend and master builder, Kevin Smith. Is the whole reason I'm masking like this is because that is such a undefined line, and I want a nice, crisp, perfectly straight line for my painting here. But let's say you wanted to chrome that, okay, with bare metal foil. What you would do, because it's not very defined, you know, you'd have a hard time finding a place to run your razor knife to. So what you would do is you would put your bare metal foil down first, and, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch strip along the whole car, wrapping it down this way and up this way. And then you would do everything I just showed you for this paint masking. You would get this tape all in place like this. And now, with your scalpel blade, number 11 blade, or your X-Acto number 11, very brand new sharp blade, with your foil in place and then tape over it, this would ride right along the edge of your pinstripe, very gently, and it would give you a nice straight guide. And when you peel away this, you'll peel away your excess foil, and you're going to see that you have a very nice straight foil line. A very valuable tip. I don't know why I didn't think of it myself, because if you're going to do this for a painting, it would also work for that. So, okay, so anyways, I'm going to tape off now the rest of the car so that I can paint that trim. So I'll be back. All right, so I've got the body all masked off for just my little bit of green that's going on there. Lots of masking tape there. So that is just my frog tape. And what you want to do is right before you get to the booth, you want to just press down all your edges really, really nice. And when you're spraying, try to spray away from the tape instead of pushing into the tape, at least best possible way. And don't flood it either. I'm going to go light coats here just to get some color on there, because if you go super wet, super thick, you're going to have a different problem. You'll be just a really thick stripe there. And yeah, you can bury it in your clear, but it's going to take quite a bit of clear. So all you need is the color. So don't go for a nice thick glossy coverage, just go for color. So I'll be spraying kind of lightly there. All right, so I'm gonna just press everything down and I'll get to the booth, and I am going to be spraying this. My wife picked this because I am colorblind. Racing Emerald K205 from Kaleido. It's a gloss paint. It's a darker shade of green basically. I'm going to shake that up really, really good, and I'm going to spray that 18 to 20 psi, 0.3 millimeter needle nozzle combination, And like I said, dry to light coats. And you know, it's probably going to take 2 or 3. We'll see. All right, so I'll meet you at the booth. Okay, at one of my favorite spots of the hobby room, back to the booth here. And I am, as you can see, just pressing down that tape one last time before I start spraying. And I'm going to use that Kaleido paint just straight out of the bottle with no thinning. And I'm using my Mobius 0.3 millimeter airbrush, about 20 psi pressure. And I'm just spraying very lightly, just to get color on there. And because I am spraying so lightly, I really don't have to worry about, you know, flash time between coats. In fact, I just do this all in one little session here. And I'm making sure that I, you know, start below the tape and continue where I want the paint, and then end on the other side where it is taped, so that I'm not just aiming right where I want to paint. I'm making sure that that coverage is good, so you can see that the tape is getting some paint on it as well. Okay, I'm just going to speed that up a little bit, and we'll be right back. Alright, so the paint has been allowed to tack up for about 10 minutes. So before it gets totally dry, I'm going to remove my masking very carefully. So I'm going to take it off my stand here. And you don't want to just rip this thing open. You want to carefully remove your tape so that you can control the environment. So first I'm removing all my outer masking. And instead of yanking straight up on my tape, I pull it backwards. Stand out of my way. And when you do pull your pinstripe, pull at about pull back and away from your paint line. Don't pull toward your paint line, pull away from your paint line. Okay, so now I'm gonna expose my bottom pinstripe line here, right up against the paint. So I'm gonna pull away and at a sharp angle. Okay, and that even pulled the bare metal foil off. Nice crisp line so far. Pretty happy with that. Okay, now I need to take the top line off. And try not to let it fall back on itself because that paint is still tacky. And if you did it right, you'll have a nice crisp edge. like so. Get a light on there. So that's a real nice, straight, crisp edge. And that's how it's done. And you can notice where that bare metal foil was in the front here. That masked really nicely. Okay. Okay, so it's time to start some bare metal foil work. And I'm still waiting for that green, darker green trim line to cure up fully. So I'm not gonna worry about trimming up here right now, but I'm gonna worry about down here on the bottom. So I've already cut a piece and put it in place here on this bottom. And I'm just gonna burnish that down. Okay, and then I have these little more detailed Q-tips that are a little bit more rigid that I'm going to kind of just press down each one of these little grooves back here where it's ribbed. And bare metal foil just conforms to the shape so nice. And of course that's why you have to have really smooth finish below your bare metal foil, because it does take to the shape so well. So if I had a really bumpy paint texture, it would come right through. And then I burnish the inside too really well. Okay, now I'm gonna run a long strip here for the spear and get that in place too, so that when I go to cut, I'm cutting it all at once so that I don't have an alteration in my cut line. So let me cut another strip here and I'll be right back. Okay, then we're gonna burnish that down really, really good. Okay, so now for a little tip that my friend Kevin Smith taught me is to get a nice crisp edge and not slip with my razor blade across the top of the spear here. I'm going to use some tape and put a tape line down so that my razor blade, my X-Acto blade, is going to have an edge to follow along. And you could use masking tape like Tamiya tape or whatever. I'm gonna use my fine line vinyl. Trick is getting your blade without cutting into your tape too. So I'll show you how to cut a strip. Now I'm going to be out of camera range for a second as I put this tape down, so bear with me, okay? Okay, so got that little fine line tape down. I'm going to just press that down really good. Burnish it into place. And then I prefer a scalpel blade, so I'm using a number 11 brand new scalpel blade. And I'm going to just trace right along that tape line. And that blue tape is actually going to be my guide for my blade. Trick is get yourself comfortable. I need my magnifier here, so A nice 45-degree angle. And what's nice about this scalpel blade is it is so sharp. I went off. It is so sharp that it takes no pressure whatsoever. Oops, scratch that paint right at the end there. Gotta be careful about that. Okay, now I'm gonna peel up my fine line, and the foil should come up with it. But if it don't, that's fine. See, there it is. Okay. And where it didn't, I'll just go back with a toothpick here, get it started. So I can grab it with my tweezers. Okay, nice crisp edge. Burnish that down again. See, I wouldn't have been able to follow that edge without that tape. Thanks, Kevin. Great idea, buddy. I mean, master builders just know that stuff, but us newbies don't. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom half of this spear. You can't help but get a nice straight line that way. All right, so tricky part is, once again, getting it in place. Burnish it in. Breathe very well. Once again, almost no pressure downward. All right. Take a toothpick just to get my tape started here. And pull back and away like you were peeling it from a masking tape line. And look at that. What a nice crisp line. Burnish that down. And that's one of the things I like about clearing over it, is that's going to help hold that into place, because if you're handling the model at shows or getting it in and out of your box or whatever you're doing, picking up out of your display, it's so easy to start peeling this stuff. So there you go, nice little bare metal foil job there. So I still have to trim the back edge here, and I need to do this rocker. So let me get that in place. Let me cut me a nice long strip. Okay, now we'll get one across the rocker here. Okay, get that on there. Once again, burnish it down real good. Get a brand new crisp Q-tip here and burnish them little grooves in better. I'll tell you what, I like that taping to cut method because I've slipped off so many times that I'm pretty much going to tape off everywhere I go anymore if I don't trust myself, you know. Okay, so I'm gonna get me another one of those here, right along that edge. And I make it longer than I need so I can grab it outside of the area. Breathe. Get comfortable in your chair. If you need magnifier like I do, get it adjusted. It's still difficult to do this under camera. But now I'll just follow that vinyl line. It's just thick enough. Got to get more comfortable here. Right along that tape edge. I had my tape probably a little closer to the edge than I wanted to be. Yeah, I think I was just a little closer than I wanted to be here. So there you go. Just burnish everything down really, really good. Make sure it's burnished really good. Okay, and then I also have that exposed front letters here under the paint. Okay, I'll get the other side done. We'll be back. And here's a nice picture of that foiling done, and you can see that tape line that I used to guide my blade. It's just crisp and nice and straight. It's taken my foiling work to a whole new level. Okay, then once I had that foil in place, I used a little bit of craft paint and a brush, and I brushed in some black craft paint, let that dry, and then I burnished across the top with a Q-tip to expose the chrome on the top of the ribs, and it kind of gives it that nice little darkened, painted look, I guess I'm trying to say, instead of just being shiny and bright. Okay, so next up, I wanted to begin the rest of my foiling around all my windows and whatnot. So first you got to take care of the orange peel of your paint. So here I'm using some 8/1000 Trizact. That's all I need. Just lightly buffing that over with my finger here, almost no pressure at all. The paint's relatively soft. Not only getting the roof, but I'm going to get right along that edge where the foil's going to go. But it's going to be easier to clean your paint up at this point than after the foil, where you can risk damaging or cutting or pulling up your foil. Okay, so I'm just going to go over prepping the rest of the body for that, and I will be right back when it's completed. Okay, so now I'm going to just start foiling around all my window trim and whatnot. Done the same as I did on the side trim of the body. And I'll just show some of that footage here, but I'm just going to go ahead and speed that up a bit. Okay, extensive amount of bare metal foil, but it's all been done. So I've got around all the windows, all the trim. Dressed up pretty nice. So we're going to go to clear coat. I'm going to put 4 coats of clear with the Kaleido clear varnish, 0.3 millimeter airbrush tip and cap or needle. So let's go to the booth. Okay, so I'm at the booth, and once again I'm using my Mobius 0.3 millimeter airbrush, and I'm using the clear gloss Kaleido varnish, and no dilution required. It's ready to spray, about 20 psi pressure. And I'm also hitting the engine compartment because I want that to be pretty and glossy, just like the exterior, you know, like a resto mod would. And then finally on the body, which only includes the hood and the body actually, and the underside of the hood. So my plan was to go with 4 coats of clear with about a 10 to 15 minute flash period between each coat, because you do got to let that set up a little bit between your coats. But I did get a little bit of dust on the end of my 3rd coat, and there's no sense burying that dust deep into your paint because you're going to have to sand beyond all that to get to your dust in the first place. So I ended up stopping at 3 coats. Right now I'm blowing off the body too to make sure that everything looks good, and then I spray it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and speed this up, and I'll show you the paint job, you know, all 3 coats are clear, but we'll do it in fast forward. Okay, so I'm working back on the wheels a little bit here. And first I took a little bit of that dark green that I used for my transition line on the body, and I painted the center caps with it. And now I took a little fusion firm into a bottle cap here and a tip of a toothpick, and I'm just going to hit the lug nuts. And I also glued those brake calipers inside there. Okay, that gives it a nice look here. Got the disc brake inside, red caliper, green center cap, chrome lug nuts. It's a nice little detailed wheel. And that Tamiya rubber black is pretty cool too. I mean, these look like they're rubber tires, don't they? But yet they're hard resin. But they look like rubber. Okay, I'll get the rest of these done. We'll be back. Okay, doing a little detail work on the grill and tail panel here. So I'm going to stick with the kit chrome, but I'm going to put bare metal foil along this back upper area to make it look more like a brushed aluminum or stainless steel or something like that. But the bumper I'll leave nice and shiny. And the grill had already given it one treatment of panel liner, but I'm going to give it a second one to darken that up a little bit more. I've seen people smear it on there big time. I don't know why, because it's probably just fine. It's so thin that it'll level out, but I like to try to be neat and go in rows. You know, sometimes the panel liner is just a little too wet. So I did a coat the other day. I'm just hitting it one more time. Okay, let that set. Okay, so now I'm applying a little bit of bare metal foil across that top part of the tail panel there, all the way across to where the lights are going to go. And I just think that's going to give it a better brushed aluminum look, if you will. Okay, then once again, I'll give it a real nice burnishing to make sure all the details underneath show up really well, including the gas door, because I'll probably be running some panel liner around there to bring out its highlight. And then when I'm done with all that, I just cut it with my razor blade, my number 11, just like any other trim. Okay, so this is where the magic happens. So the clear coat has cured overnight, at least 24 hours. And as you can see, it's got some orange peel and just a slight bit of dust or whatnot in it. So what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to demonstrate it on the hood, and then I'll do the rest of the body off camera. But on camera, I'll do the hood. So I'm going to sand the orange peel down, and I'm going to polish it up to, you know, a high gloss shine. What I'm going to use is I'm going to start with a 5000 grit. I don't think I need anything more coarse. If I do, I'll bring it up. But I'll go with 5000 grit, and I'm going to use Trizact 5000s. That's the blue stuff here. And then once it's all sanded down with the 5000s, I'm going to go with a finer sandpaper, and this is 8000 grit, Trizact 8000 grit. And then once that's all complete, I'm going to go to 12,000 grit mesh sandpaper here, and then I'll go into polishing. So one thing you want to make sure is your paint cured? Because if it's not, you don't really want to be sanding into it. 24 hours is the early side of curing. But one thing I like to do, it's sort of a field test. My thumb is just sliding across that paint. If it was really dragging, that would give me a signal that it's not really cured up yet. This is not the only way to tell, but it does have that effect. If your finger glosses over it, it is a clue that it's cured up. The second one is you start sanding and it's just way too aggressive and it's coming out way too quick. Then stop and let this cure out some more. So I'm not going to put any real pressure on it, and I'm doing this wet, so a little bit of a 5/1000 grit Trizact and just light finger pressure. And I'm making sure that I'm not working on any edges or high spots. I'm just starting to work on the flat first. Once I get the flat areas done, I'll very carefully go over the raised areas and not near as much or as aggressive. Okay, so that's cleaning up pretty quick. As you can see now, it's very flat here. Okay, so I'm just it's coming off pretty quick here, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit the rest of this hood, all the flat areas. And that was 3 coats of clear. I was going to go with 4, but I noticed I picked up a little hair. I'm not even sure if it's hair or what. It's just like a big dust blot of something. And when you see something like that enter your paint system, you might as well stop and not go too far. You can sand out dust and hairs or whatnot, but if it's buried in your clear, you're going to have to go down way too deep. Okay, so that's 5/1000 Trizact. Nice and flat finish. So now I'm going to step up to the 8/1000s. Same thing, real nice light pressure. Okay, so you can see that's, the gloss is coming back slightly because I went with the 8/1000s grit, and the lighter you go, the little more polished it starts looking. So now I'm going to hit that with 12/1000s. Okay, so you can see quite a bit of shine has come back on that. Okay, so it is time to now polish. Okay, so the first polish I'm going to use is Plast X, is one of my favorites from Meguiar's. I picked this up. I got this on Amazon, so I should have a link in my description there along with my other stuff. If not, you can get it at a, hardware, not a hardware store, but any automotive store. Shake it up a little bit. A little dot on there. And then I just have a nice soft little piece of flannel. I'm just going to fold that over, kind of over my finger here. And I'm just going to start polishing that in and working that compound in until it breaks down and it's like a squeaky sound. Get my finger wrapped around that real good so it don't drag on me. Okay, so that kind of broke down on me there, so I'm going to need a little bit more. And before I was going cross ways, now I'm going circular motion. You just want to kind of go different directions and stuff so that you're not putting scratches in or the scratches that you're taking away. If you go opposing directions to the scratches, you'll have a better chance of getting them buffed out. And we're dealing with black. Black's the hardest to make it look pretty. I enjoy it because I like the challenge of it. Because if you could do it good, it looks fantastic. Okay, it's starting to get that little squeaky sound to it, which means that your compound's pretty much broke down. All right, so now I'm making sure that I set that in a place where it's not getting contaminated, so I'm setting it on top of my tissue there. Okay, we're getting there. I'll bring this light up a little bit here for you. So if you notice here, this crease on the other side of the hood, I don't know if you can see it in the light, but that's still a little bit dull. But this is the side where I used that Q-tip and kind of polished right into there a little bit. And, you know, it smoothed out quite a bit more. So I'm going to work this a little bit more over here. And if it looks cloudy after doing all this work, it probably means that you didn't sand it enough before you went to polish. So, you know, you may have to back up a couple steps. Same with the orange peel. Okay, then when you think you got it good enough, you go to your next polish. So then I bring out my Meguiar's Ultimate Polish and Gloss Enhancer. And I use a different applicator, another piece of flannel, but I don't cross-contaminate because that first one has a little bit of grit in it. This one here is more of a filler, a glaze, so it doesn't have any grit to it. So you don't want to cross-contaminate your cloths. And you just work it in until the compound's just about gone. And it's just slightly greasy looking is all. I guess that's the appearance you'd be going for. And once you get to that level, we can buff it off. Always check your towel too. Make sure you didn't pick up anything like some bare metal foil or grit from someplace. Drop it on the floor, because those same little microfibers that does such a nice job polishing, they also pick up anything. Like if you dropped it on the ground, they pick up all the foreign materials, and then you're putting that into your paint. Okay, so now you see we got a really nice reflection. So you can see a dramatic difference between the hood and the roof, which I have not hit yet. Look at that roof. It looks horrible, doesn't it? Well, the hood wasn't much different when I started it, so. All right, I'm going to work on the rest of the kit, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I think that wraps up number 3 of the multi-part series. So the next one will be the interior and the interior detailing, and then we'll probably get into assembly. Not sure if it's going to end on series number 4 or if it's going to take a 5th one. We'll see how it goes. But I'm trying to keep as much detail into this build because it's one of my favorite builds and one of my most detailed builds to date. So make sure you stay tuned for the next one. Thank you, folks.